My name is Scott Hebert. I'm a photographer director, and I'm a voice of hope. Born in Lake Charles, Louisiana, but I was raised in Westlake, Louisiana, which is right next door, a town of like 3,500 people. I was playing sports. I have a family, mom, dad, everybody was there, 2 brothers, the whole situation. We grew up pretty okay, nothing too crazy going on. But being in Louisiana, there was a lot of limitations to a lot of things, not to everything. I'm happy I grew up there. Going back, I learned a lot about myself. Leaving and coming back, I'm like, wow, I'm actually happy I grew up here, It's green, it's nice, people are nice, they teach you, it basically built my personality, which helped me to be who I am. So what happened from there is I used to draw a lot. I remember getting in trouble for drawing, and my teacher my music teacher, she said, quit drawing so much. You're always drawing on stuff. I'm just tearing everything up. And eventually she said, she told my parents, I think Scott has a talent for painting. And my parents were like, huh? Painting? He's never painted before. So she said, I want to take him in. I was 10 years old. And she said, I want to take him in and I want to see if he can paint. And I started painting, and the next thing you know, our first painting we did took about 8 hours. Me and her name is Linda Chapman. And we did the first painting, and it was just phenomenal. Brought it in, my parents, everybody was just like, where did that come from? It was an oil painting. So from there, I painted. That was like the thing to do. I did displays, showed my work to schools and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. And then eventually, I left there. I went to school, high school. Next thing you know, I got picked up to go to a boarding school, which was a college preparatory boarding school. It's called the Louisiana School for Math, Science, and the Arts. And I was actually picked up there due to acting. Which was crazy. My parents were like, he can act too. But it was the acting picked up, and they asked me to do theater. And with that, Myrna Scheck-Snyder was who I was under. And Myrna, bless her heart, she's passed away now. Myrna saw something I had, and she really made sure the school recruited me in to be the lead for their new situation, their new play. And that was my junior and senior year, and it was at a university, at Northwestern State University. We were on that campus. And so when I went up there, I was there. I was running track for the school and doing acting with her, and also I was under I was doing dancing, which is crazy. I have all these different things, multi-talented, nothing wrong with that, I started doing, I guess to be a swing dance. We were doing swing dancing, heavy swing dancing. We did concerts and tours and everything with swing dancing and theater and running track. All these things don't make sense, at the time, but it was fun. So from that, I met up. I tried to go with the idea of what my parents and my grandparents and what society, Louisiana, what geared you towards was either to be a doctor or a lawyer. That was pretty much the whole thing, for us at that time, that was what you always strive to be. And so I kind of went with that path. I didn't know if I wanted to be a doctor per se, but I enjoyed dentistry. So I thought I was going to go immediately to school from there, but no, my goal was always to come to Los Angeles. I wanted to see what Los Angeles was like. So I'll never forget, my parents said, what do you want to do for your graduation gift? I said, I want to go to Los Angeles. They were like, why would you want to go to Los Angeles? I said, I don't know. I just feel like I want to go. And so for it was my 18th birthday, my parents put me on a flight, said, go meet, I had some cousins here, and go meet your cousins and see what it's like. I never forget when I first, I think everybody's told this story though, when I first flew into this city, I looked out the window. Remember, I'm from the country. I see lights from both ends of the plane. I was like moving the lady out of the way, like, hey, let me see. I said, wow. I said, I'm going to live here one day. This has to be my home. And the lady was like, why do you think so? I said, I don't know. It's just something is, pulling inside of me. LA has that to you. Hollywood has that feeling where you just feel like you're just, amazing. So I came to LA, couldn't believe it. Went back to Louisiana. Instead of going directly to school, I got picked up by a modeling agency to go to Chicago. and work with them, see what could happen there. Parents flipped out again. They didn't understand it, So I went up there to do modeling. I ended up landing me a couple ads, knocked out a couple things, magazines, Town and Country. I mean, I was just doing all these different cool stuff. But what I noticed is that I really enjoyed, the photographer would tell me what to do, and I was like, well, I think I want to go this way a little bit. And it was always a battle between me and the photographers. So I said, man, I think I could do this. Let me play with it. Never thought more about that until I left there after being in Chicago for a couple years. I moved back to Louisiana to pursue my schooling because I told my parents if they let me go there, then I would do better when I came back to school. I'd actually finish off what I needed to do. They said, fine. So when I went back home, it just wasn't the same. You go back to going back to the normal in and out days of the country life, doing your thing. And I went to McNeese State University, left there after 6 months, switched to Louisiana State University, LSU. And this is where my father, he's in everything. He's in the cars, he's in the boats, every time he gets a talent, something he wants to do, he gets himself into it and his 3 boys into it. And one thing he got into was cameras. So he went to a pawn shop, bought all of us cameras. I remember I had an old Minolta for $35. He gave it to me. He's like, here, you try this out. Here, one for your brother, one for him. And my mom was always like, whatever. So he took the camera. Sat around for a second. Then I'll never forget, a friend of mine gave me some black and white film. She said, hey, I've had this in the cabinet. Take it and try it. I shot my mom and my brother, and I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Went back to LSU, and my buddy had a dark room, so he let me process a film. I was hooked. I said, wow, this is fun. So I did it for about a couple months. I asked my mother, she hates that I'm going to say this, but I'm going to say it. I said, Mom, how long do you think I'm going to do this for? She said, 6 months. You don't really stick to too many things long. But, I had a pattern of just doing so many different things. And then finally, I did it for LSU. And then it went further. I started doing the fraternities, sororities. Next thing you know, I'm doing weddings. I really started enjoying this. It was actually a little side money. I was only getting paid like, $20, $30, $50, but that was good when you're in college. And then I switched and moved to California to pursue more of it. And, it was kind of hard because I had to leave my whole business at home. I was shooting for everybody there. I had a whole solid situation. My father was like, why would you want to go all the way to some place? You have a whole business here now. And I said, I don't know. I just feel like, this is where I always wanted to go. So I made my way over to LA. I went to Cal State San Bernardino, first run, just to see, what it was like. I thought I was closer to LA than I was being in Louisiana. Didn't realize it was 70 miles out. But it was cool. I got to meet a lot of great people. I'm glad Cal State was one of my first places to land here. I was able to meet a lot of people and not be just shoved right into that, the crazy crowd, which was nice. And so what was crazy is I could never get business in San Bernardino or LA. So I would fly back every 6 weeks and make money I'd work there for the weekend and make enough money to sustain me for the next 5. That's what I did that for almost a year. Then finally I said, you know what? No, I'm going to stick it out. I moved into Hollywood for a while, and I said, I'm going to stick it out. I'm not going back home. I'm going to, make this my home. And boom, I was in school at Cal State LA by this time. I know, a lot of universities, 4, but it took all this to get to your dream. So I moved to Cal State LA. I remember going there. I was still doing, in school for biochemistry and still taking pictures. I got a loft downtown LA that was big enough for photography. My whole life was geared towards, photography, but I was still doing what I thought was right. And I never forget, I was in class. It was a transfer to Cal State program, a class for that. And I never forget, this lady from Merrill Lynch came in and she was giving like a little lecture to all of us about our resume. She said, if your resume is not up to par, you may not get hired. And at that moment, I said to myself, somebody could dictate my life and my job off of a resume, like what my future holds. I don't know why it never dawned on me till right then and there. I didn't want to live like that. I wanted to do my own thing. I wanted to be able to be in control of my own destiny. And so it was, I didn't care if it was basket weaving. I don't care. I just wanted to take on whatever it was that I wanted to do and make that my passion become my paycheck, because I knew I didn't want to trust someone to make a decision on me in that way. And this is before I started really reading. This is just my own mind working. And I went to the counselor right there. I kid you not. I went right to the counselor, said, hey, I think I have an issue. I said, I can't do this no more. She said, what do you mean? I say, close your door. She closed the door. We went down a whole list of things. I said, I just realized that, this isn't my dream. Like, this is not my dream to do, biochemistry. I want to do something bigger than this. I just can't have anyone over my destiny. And, I really want to push toward what I love. And I love this photography. And she looked at me crazy for a second. And then she said it real quietly. She said, go after your dream. She said, if I was you, I would do it. And I was, I wouldn't say her name. I don't want to get her in trouble. But from that moment, I said, that's it. So I literally stopped school. No one knows this. I completely was like, I'm done. I was still racing, running track. I went to my last track meet. I wanted to run at USC. I ran on USC track. And at that moment, I walked off the track, never went back to track, never went back to any of that. Told the school, finished off my stuff, failed all my exams, and left just like that. When it clicks, when it just all hits you at one time, I knew that this was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be an artist. I felt creative. I felt inspired. I love inspiring people, and I love to be inspired. And I felt like the whole medical field, it's great. I enjoyed it, and I really think I shadowed a dentist, Dr. Peter Dorsey, and he was amazing. I really enjoyed everything he did, but this was me to just be able to do what I want to do and turn that into my life. So I'm not just a photographer. This is like, I'm an artist, I'm a creator, and I just make sure that even my world around me, my friends, we're all artists, we're all creators, the energy around us is always good. I try to keep that in the crowd and also into, my work. So that's kind of how I ended up in LA, and that's where I jumped off and popped off in LA. So coming to LA, yes, it was a huge financial situation. I had no clue. My dad's house mortgage was $300 a month. He has 3-bedroom, everything else, land, the whole 9 yards. So I got this loft downtown. They told me it was $1,100 a month, right? Which was amazing even at that time. It was 1,600 square feet. I got a good deal on it. Actually, the guy messed up on the paperwork. It was supposed to be 14, but I hit him for 11 and he stuck with it. So being there was hard. My brother moved to LA, so me and him had the place together. It was way bigger than what we needed. Believe me, it was just like 40-foot ceilings, this crazy big place. And so I was shooting in it, but not really. I didn't have no business at that time. I'm still in school trying to figure it out, but I had this bill to pay. He paid it because he had a job. He worked, down the street. I didn't really have a job. I used school loans to help me pay for this particular situation. Well, then he left. He left me in this house alone, and I'm thinking, how am I going to cover this $1,100 bill? I'm a student, and I didn't have my parents helped me out, but it wasn't like they weren't gonna, my bill was bigger than their house. Like, why would they do that? So, believe it or not, I looked at the house and I started searching around, and I noticed that there was a lot of spaces in there. So I started dividing it up and moving my friends in and helping me pay the rent. So it ended up becoming one person for the summer. It became 2. Kid you not, this thing became a 7-bedroom home that I rented out. Eventually, it was paying me to live there. That's how I ended up making it and surviving for the first couple years. So I had 6 other people living there. I lived in there, and this became my paycheck. So I was actually like a little, they call me a slumlord. No, I wasn't a slumlord. It was the rooms were, I'm talking about like we put wood up and hung curtains. But in LA, shoot, you'll do anything to get a spot just to be in the city, So believe it or not, people were, it was paying me pretty nice. So, and I took that, and that money helped me. I moved somebody else in my room, and I moved and got a bigger studio, so I had that as a place that was fueling the big studio, when I got the big studio, that's whenever we became like the full Studio 360 imaging, the whole company. And then from that, I started, just by having the space alone, I booked multiple clients through that place, and then the business just started moving. I mean, God was great to me. Things just started coming out of the woodworks. People wanted to use my studio to shoot Clorox campaigns. I had all kinds of celebrities coming in and out. The place became like a mecca for just, and actually it was really nice. It was a business though. Eventually that passion got, it was kind of deterred a little bit because it became all business. I had 40 people working in the studio. Imagine at that level, our productivity was so high, shooting between almost 20-something magazines on a regular basis, flying in and out of town. I had full staff, chef, the whole 9 yards, secretaries. It was awesome. Some great assistants, just multiple, but it was such a business that it actually started killing the love that I had for photography and the reason I got involved with it. So almost, you know, with that being said, you imagine the studio with the staff, everything else, you talking about I had an overhead every month for almost $15,000 that I had to cover through my work. And believe me, it was not easy. There was times that, I mean, I was borrowing. Sometimes it was great. I mean, it would just, we'd bring in so much money and just, you know, everything was good. And then sometimes it was just bad. You know, we struggled through it. And the good thing is I had a lot of friends, a lot of supporters, and that really just helped cultivate that and get it to a point where everything was good. You know, we're in one of those businesses where, and then the recession time really hit us pretty hard. People quit paying $5,000, $10,000 photo shoots. They started paying for, we want $500. Can you shoot a cover? I'm like, $500? God. You know, $500 is $500. But, you know, when you have this overhead, so slowly the studio started dwindling down. You start having to let go people, more people, more people. Next thing you know, it's you and you're looking at your assistants like, here we go, I guess we don't have to dump next. But, you know, it built into something. And I'm gonna tell you, there's a bigger story to that. So that happened, right? So I had this grand old studio. Everyone knew what it was. It became a center point for Hollywood. A lot of events there, New Year's parties, like it was like the best spot. So that happened. When I let the studio go, I ended up doing a little traveling. I went overseas and I went to like Barcelona and Rome, and just first time going overseas, I didn't have to pay that bill anymore, but I still had money to do other things. So I said, let me go see some other stuff. I think I bought me a new car, like just trying some different stuff, right? Recession hit harder. Man, I must have just started nosediving big time. Business, because of my photo shoots were so expensive at the time, business was, you know, people weren't used to paying. I mean, people wanted to find other ways. So I was losing clients. Not only that, I had an assistant. You know, I have an assistant, which we're great friends now, but at the time, my clients started calling my assistant to do some work because they said, wow, Scott's still up here, we need somebody. And at first, I was like, what? No, you can't shoot that. But eventually I started saying, well, you know, now it became a business. Cool, well, I'll be your agent now. So I'm gonna start getting a piece of that and things, you know, you try to mix it up and figure it all out. But then it went into the dark ages. It went really bad. So I ended up having this, you know, I had a nice car and everything else, and I had a spot, but then times got hard enough to where next thing you know, you're losing things, and next thing you know, after that, they start repoing stuff. They want to take my car. Like, it got really this bad. Can you imagine going from, like I say, working with like some of the top people, shooting Tyler Perry and Gabrielle and doing all this stuff and making this and having a team, you know, everything being dwindled down to where you're having to, you know, fight Repo Man from taking your car. And even I remember when I went to shoot T.I., I actually had my car repoed that morning and had to go do that shoot, to you know, just to get back the money to go and pay, you know, to get my car out of this place. I mean, you know, L.A., Hollywood, this place was so different to me. I was always involved with the L.A., but I never became the Hollywood scene. You know, a lot of people know that I've never really got caught up in that, whatever that is. I just really enjoy working and I enjoy what I do. So things went down, and I had a lot of stress on me for a lot of different reasons. And what I realized in life, I was reading a lot of books. You know, you start reading. When you're stressing out, you start reading, you start researching, looking for help. And I spoke with a couple buddies of mine that were other photographers. They said, Scott, man, we've downgraded 2-3 times. Like, you're not a special case. I'm like, wow, I better change the way I think about things. And I read the book, Who Moved My Cheese, which was a small book, but you know how people get stuck on, you know, one thing that we've always, boom, boom, boom. Actually, photographer Matthew Jordan Smith, a good buddy of mine, he actually one told me that. He said, read that book, man, it'll get you right. And I realized that something had moved, something had changed, and I was stuck into those old days, and things weren't like that. People weren't gonna pay those same prices, you know, at least not right now. People that lost their jobs became photographers, took all our jobs, like overnight. Everybody had a camera. You know what I'm saying? There was only like 4 or 5 big photographers in the city that were minority, and I was one of them. And now, like that, I became number 2,000 something in the mix. So it got so bad to where I said, you know, when things are not adding up, start subtracting. So what did I do? I got rid of my car, got rid of my house, got rid of everything, got rid of my clothes, got rid of everything. I literally got rid of everything. It sounds crazy, but I got rid of everything that I owned. Well, almost everything. I had the smallest U-Haul you can get. I said, whatever doesn't fit in that is not coming with me. I put it all in the U-Haul, and I took all that stuff and brought it back to Louisiana. And I said, you know, I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna go back to dental school. Nobody knows that's what I was thinking. I said, I'm gonna do it again. Let me try something different. Maybe this is not for me the whole night. I had already been here for 7 years. And I said, let me try something different. I went back home. You know, I just couldn't get down with that. After everything I knew, it was so hard to think I could bring myself back to that particular thing. So what I did, I started doing a little traveling. A buddy of mine, Dr. Carrie Williams, asked me to come to Paris with her to do, she was doing Natural Hair Academy. She said, would you like to come out there? And I said, yeah, I have a friend there. I'll go check it out. Let me go to Paris. I go to Paris, fall in love with Paris. I leave Paris after the event, go back again, go back again, go back again. June last year, I stayed in Paris for 45 days, right? I said, I'm gonna stay out here, let me try something. In 45 days, I was able to shoot on 15 different projects, even shoot one of the Zouk artists, M. Wayne, shoot on video for one of the hottest Zouk artists that was there. The traveling just picked up. The next thing you know, I'm in, Argentina, Istanbul, boom, 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 boom. And I realized that I had a whole different thing that I enjoyed. My two things I enjoyed in life the most was photography and traveling. So now I've made those things combined, and now I'm a traveling photographer / filmmaker as well. And film was really nice. It was hard. It was a different business. It was taking everything and making it move. And I actually went in as a producer. I didn't go in as a director or anything like that. I helped director Matthew Cherry. I was really behind his whole situation. So Matt was directing, I was producing. In 6 months, we had shot 12 music videos, and we was already in for our first feature film with Lance Gross and the whole thing. I mean, it was that quick. I mean, we were working. He knew he had a direction, and I knew how to organize people and get people where they need to go. So the movie dropped. It was phenomenal. We had a theater release. We turned around and dropped it onto Image Entertainment, picks it up, released around the United States. Awesome. Next thing you know, it gets shipped overseas. Next thing you know, I'm guest speaking in London as a producer for the last fall, which was crazy. I'm guest speaking there, Cannes Film Festival in Paris. I ended up linking all this stuff up together. Now I realize that like I said, the whole thing is travel, photography, and filmmaking together have all become the mix. So with that being said, now I've traveled so much. I actually switched my Instagram name to Travel with Scott because it was so much traveling I was doing. In 1 week, I was shooting and working between 6 different cities in literally 7 days. I was flying, shooting, flying, shooting, flying, shooting, boom, boom, boom. It's a rush. It's so much. I've always been a person where I want to help the next man to become great at what he does. And by that, it has led me into the most amazing positions. I've always taken, even from my assistant, somebody couldn't believe I let my assistant shoot with my equipment and become as amazing as he is. I'm like, yeah, that's what he wants to do. Go for it. Anyone that wants to do something, I'm very open to help. I try to help as many people as I can. It's just hard to get to everyone. My emails, I got 4,000 something emails that's not read with people that's wanting advice and help, and I do the best that I can to get that out to people. So that's been one of the biggest things. The other thing, as far as creatively wise, is I'm really open to the trends. Like I'll stick to my work, but I don't mind stepping out and trying different things. A lot of people are stuck in their particular way. I always believe in adding pieces to the puzzle that make sense, and the integrity of your work. I've shot a lot of magazines, even girly magazines. I shoot it, they want a certain look, but what I try to do is put a twist on it, keeps it creative. That keeps people saying, okay, well, that looks really good, And also my integrity with the models that I work with. You will not hear a bad rap sheet about me. You don't hear Scott's been doing X, Y, Z with the girls, with the guys, none of that stuff. You'll never hear that type of thing because I respect people, and I don't cross those lines, because at the end of the day, the reason that we're doing stuff together is because you're usually paying me, or I'm paying you, or there's some type of, it's work, and I respect that. And that's something that I think has held me as long as it has, is just being able to be respectful of people.